It's mid-October. It's getting late in the season. We're supposed to have our first cold snap this weekend. I really wish I had a wood stove. Oh wait, I do. It just hasn't been installed yet.
Here we go.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill with Live Simple, Live Free, and I actually bought this wood stove last spring, just about the time the lockdown started. I didn't have any idea what was going to happen with the lockdown, so we just ran out and bought it real fast. Now it's been sitting here in our living room all summer long, not hooked up. So I'm about ready to do that before the fall weather sets in. And this is something that I could do myself, but it's so much easier when you have somebody to help. So my son Barry is going to come down and help me with it today. So this is a Vermont Castings model TN20. It's a small stove, but it is rated to heat 1,200 square feet, and our house is only 900, so it's going to be fine. Over there, I have all the bits and pieces for the flue that we need to run from there up into the ceiling and through the roof. So that's what I'll be doing today. We really like the stove, but we haven't used it yet. It's been sitting here, like I said, all summer. And we decided where we wanted to put it. And it's a small living room, but it seems to fit right here. So let's get started. So we're trying to figure out the exact placing of the stove this way. And we have to be sure that we do not hit one of the joists up there. And so that the joist is here. So we're going to go over here and just drill a hole up through. And then we'll go up into the attic and see where we are up there. Okay, so we got that hole where that is now. There's insulation up there and stuff, so we have a very special tool we're going to use to poke up through and find out where that hole is.
Gotta have the right tool for the job.
Yeah, there you go. That should make it easy to find.
Okay, so the box that goes up through the attic is 1 foot wide. So I need to measure 6 inches because we're going to attach it to this. 6 inches over. On the ceiling, the rafter up here to the right of this, so I need to go 7.5 over. But I need to find out where it is this way. So, come on, Bob. So right there, roughly, okay, 7.5 is over here. So that is the center. And you ready to put a hole in the roof?
I guess.
No turning back. Oh, I just put those shingles on and now there's a hole in it.
It's going to be a bigger hole in a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so here's where it comes up through the roof. And I was a little concerned about being too close to the peak, but it looks like it's going to work fine. We can just slide this up underneath of the ridge vent there. So that's going to work fine.
So this dictates right and left, and then the ridge vent dictates forward and back. So we need to get this centered this direction and then mark it on the sides. And pencil.
I gave it to you.
You did? Oh, wow.
The magic pencil.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see that well.
Yeah, I see it well enough. Yeah, I can see it.
Normally we would have had to take the shingles apart to make sure that the shingles run down on top of this, put this up underneath the shingles. But since that's going under the ridge vent, we don't need to do anything like that. We just put it on there right like that.
So I'm taking the nails up so I can get this under it, and then I'll pound the nails back down, and that'll be the end of it. Except for the big hole I gotta put here.
Yeah. There's always that.
Yeah.
Feels nice up here.
It's a beautiful day, huh? That's going to change in a couple days.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
I need one more nail. So close. Okay, nice and straight.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Oh, a circle.
And that's the hole we make. I feel like I'm running into something, so I'm going to cut across and see what's up there. This is always fun because when you finally punch through, especially if the attic is hot, all that hot air releases and you get a face full of attic stuff. Can't tell you how many times I've done that. See? Poof. Alright, let's see. No, it's all clear. So when I put this new roof on a few years ago, I re-sheathed it so it got the 7/16 OSB and then the original 1970 whatever boards. So as I'm cutting, it's easy hard as I'm busting through the OSB and then cutting through all of the old stuff. Perfect circle. Right.
Never seen it done quite like that before.
Well, I couldn't get it all the way up against the thing.
I know you couldn't.
So it worked.
I thought you would go get a regular sawzall to do that.
All the way at my house. I don't want to go all the way back there. Okay.
How's it look?
Looks like a hole.
About that big piece of wood right there.
It can be moved if it needs to be.
Okay.
Cool.
You got a big hole in my roof.
Yep.
Good thing it's a beautiful day.
Yep.
Not a cloud in the sky.
There's an airplane, does that count?
You could dump a bucket of water on it.
Okay. So with the roof flange in place, I'm going to stick a piece of the double wall that's going to stick up through it, down it, and rest it on the attic so I can see where exactly we got to go through the ceiling of the house.
Oops.
Like 2 inches. Close enough.
I'll be able to straighten it out, hold it straight.
Okay, I'm going to go get in the attic. Give me just a minute. Need the puzzle.
So he's going to go down into the attic, put a level on this, and make sure that it's straight so we know exactly where the hole in the ceiling goes. You'll have to trust me on this. I'm not going back into the attic to film it. Okay, so he's got it marked down there. He put the level on the flue and marked on the top of the ceiling where he's going to cut through down there.
Now I'm making the marks straight.
I got it. Hey,
What's that?
works for me.
Cool. So this box is designed to keep all combustibles away from the hot thing going up through the middle of it, which is the flue. So this sits down onto the ceiling, the flue comes up through the center, and you have this big gap right here. That's what the insulation goes up against on the outside. That way there's nothing that's even remotely combustible close enough to the flue to catch fire. So very, very important aspect of this entire thing is gap, air gap, distance gap, to keep things from catching fire. So that's what this is for. And if you want to give me a good distance down with what you're happy with, I'll go ahead. So I'll need a couple of screws to put into the side here.
Okay. So now he's up top screwing it into the side of the joist to hold it in place. And then when the pipe goes up through, then there will be space up there where there's no insulation.
So this is that piece installed, and I wanted to have a little bit more support on the sides to keep it from flexing down. So we put the 2 cross pieces in and attached them in, and now it's quite secure, not going anywhere. So it'll hold all of the weight of the flue pipe going up through the ceiling. Now we install the flue.
Okay, so now I've got the first piece of flue down there. It's sitting, being supported by the flange that we just put in the ceiling down below. And then I'll put this next piece of flue through here and we'll be done with the top part.
You put it down and then rotate it, and it locks in. So it actually rotates into place. rotate it clockwise.
That's it.
Okay, that's in. And then we'll level this and then attach the flange. I'm going to go ahead and put the insulation back
Okay.
so we're 100% in the attic.
Okay.
I'll put the that little cross brace back up too.
Right. Okay, so now we got it up through the roof. This is still, can be moved. So we need to make sure it's plumb, level up and down, and then we'll put some nails in there in the roof flange to hold it in place. And then the cap. Well done. So this is blackjack roof and flashing cement. Put a bead underneath on each side. So I put this on each side, over here and over here, to keep the water out. I do not put any on the bottom, that way if any water does get in, it will be able to drain out down there. And I put a little spot of this on top of each roofing nail that I put in here. It doesn't look real good, but it waterproofs it and you can't really see it from the road, so it doesn't really matter. Now there's also this gap right here that I need to take care of. And for that you use this collar. Get it on there as tight as you can get it, and then bend this up. That holds it in place. Then you put a row of caulk around here as well. And we are now watertight.
This slides down over there. These nests over there. I don't have it measured yet. This way. No, okay, so that's been the problem. This is so stupid. This is all.
Okay, so we've had a little bit of a problem with this stupid damper that they sold me. It's got the wrong kind of fitting. It should have a bell flange on the end so it can go over the outside. It doesn't fit here. It's the same size as the one below it. And if I try to put it on down here, because of this, it's too small, it just doesn't fit. So I thought I was going to have to go back and try to get a different one or something. And then Barry pointed out that this is easily removable. Just like that, as soon as I can get it out. So, all I got to do is just drill a hole on each side of here and put it right in there with this inside, and it'll be perfect. I won't even have to mess with this piece at all. Such a simple solution. It's just a little hole right there that you put that through. It's going to work.
So if we want to find the exact opposite size of a pipe, you can take a string or a piece of paper or whatever, loop it around it so it lines up exactly, then take it off, line those up, find the exact opposite side of that, right there, and then now that is exactly even, half and half. So oops, if we put a mark here, say out there, looks good. Yep. Now hold that one there, hold it tight like that. And I wrap this around. Mark this side, that's exactly half and half. You also do with a small tape measure. If you don't have a tape measure, a piece of paper or string or whatever works actually really well. So if the manufacturer ever tells you that this voids the warranty, tell them that this is stupid.
Okay, so we just made a big mistake and we just corrected it without even realizing it. Originally, when I designed all of this, the amazing thing is that according to the specs, I'm only required 3 inches right here, which blows my mind, to unprotected combustible material. So I wanted the stove as close to the wall as I can because this living room isn't that big and I wanted to keep it back that way. So I got a couple of 45s because with this right back here, I was afraid that this chimney was going to go right through the peak of the roof up there and it wouldn't work. So I had to move it out. So I got this 45. I was going to put another 45 out here somewhere to move the chimney this way away from the peak of the roof. Okay? But then when we started measuring everything out, as you saw earlier, we discovered that if we go straight up with this, it just misses the peak. And I'd much rather have it straight than have all of these things. So we designed it now. We put it all the way through the roof already. And then we discovered the cold air intake is right here. And we have to put an elbow on here to bring it down through the floor. And with this only 3 inches away from the wall, there's no room there to do that. So we have to bring the stove back out away from the wall again. But instead of doing this whole big thing here with the chimney, the flue all the way out here, we've already got the flue over here, right? On the ceiling up here. We can't change that now. So then we discovered that the two 45s that I already have will go back to back right here. And it'll line up right with that. So now that we move this out, we have just enough room here, down here, to fit this. You've got to move the stove out just a little bit more, but it'll work. And yes, this is a Class B vent for exhaust vent for a water heater, I guess. But it's the exact same size that I need. It's going to work well, so we're just going to put this down so it'll draw air from the crawl space down below.
And it's steel.
Yes, steel.
Not plastic.
Right. Okay, so we put the flue together to make sure that it's all in place and make sure that it's level. We check the level, actually the plumb, both ways. Everything's plumb. This way. Got enough room here. And, oh, you took the elbow out.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's just enough room for the elbow to go in.
Yeah, straight down.
So we have to put a hole in the floor for the cold air supply.
So why put in a cold air supply? This takes a crazy amount of air, the combustion, the flow going out. If you look at the top of the stack, all that smoke coming out is air. Well, where's that air coming from? It has to come from somewhere. So if you have vents that just open up into the expanse of your house, where is all that air going to come from? Well, it comes from outside, through every tiny, minute little crack in the house that it can possibly find. Doorways, jams around windows, or jams around doors and windows. You can actually make your house colder by not having a cold air intake from outside with a wood stove. You can actually put a thermometer in a back room, fire up a wood stove, and it'll get colder in the back rooms. So having a cold air intake for a stove is incredibly important, as long as you're able to move the air around the house with some fans or something, just because it's going to get kind of musty if it's just hot air. So that's why we're doing this.
Yep. And we have some spectators. Now it looks here like, why didn't I just move the stove over a little bit more this way and eliminate that? But you can see from the side, I actually moved it out from the wall, from there, to there, and that's what gives me room for the elbow down below. Okay.
So when punching a hole down into a crawl space or an attic or whatever, it's very important to make sure you go directly into the main water line. That way you can tell if you get under the basement because you get shot in the face with water.
Yeah, that way you can find it easily when you go underneath.
Yep. Uh-oh. Whew, we did not hit a joist.
Yeah, so we drill that pilot hole and go underneath and make sure that we're not actually right into a joist in the floor. That doesn't work when that happens.
Yeah, and it does happen. It's so frustrating. I've built quite a few projects recently where I had to sister a joist next to it and cut a big notch out of it because I couldn't move the pipe, but I also couldn't just cut out a giant chunk of the joist because it'll make it weaker. There. Yay. And we'll put the set screws in the side of this and then fill in the gap. And then that's it.
Yeah, I'll have to just put some caulk around there. That'll work. Well, thank you so much for your help.
Yeah, I figured, you know, it's like 18 years of raising me and feeding me and clothing me and housing me. Least I could do is help keep you from freezing to death.
Yeah, so I could have done this by myself. I really could have.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier with two, so I asked for his help. And he was so much help because he did all the work, and that way I was free to use the camera.
Yeah, and I've got all the extra tools and stuff, so all the fancy newfangled stuff.
Yeah, anyway, it's looking real good, and I'm getting excited about firing it up and see how it works. Thanks.
See ya.
Yep. Well, dear, so there you go.
I love it.
Stove is installed. The stove's been sitting there all summer.
Yep.
Because we got it in the spring. And so it's good to finally get it hooked up. I really wanted to fire it up, get it working, but it's still too hot for that.
Yeah.
You know, it's still 70 degrees or more outside, and it would blast us out of here. So I guess I'll be waiting a couple more weeks yet before we actually fire it up. But I'm absolutely confident it's not going to be any issues.
Yeah.
So.
Every time I walk down the hall, I notice there's somebody standing there in the doorway, and it's the stovepipe. Yeah. I'm trying to get used to that.
Yeah.
We are going to be thrilled to have this just to use as heat. You know, I just loved having this stove in our tiny house, and we're planning on using this because, you know, we have a really good heat pump, you know, good system here, but it's going to save us so much money to burn with wood. So we're going to be able to use this, you know, as our heat source. But also, it's just such a good thing to have with the prepper mentality, because if we happen to like lose electricity or anything like that happens, we know we can always still have heat. In fact, I can still cook on it. And we live in an area where there tends to be ice storms. And so, you know, there's times when the electricity gets knocked out. And it's just awfully nice to know we can go ahead and keep us and Pop and Leo, you know, warm if we lose electricity.
Right. You know, up there in Pennsylvania where we used to live, it was considerably colder than it is here.
Yes.
And so it snowed all the time. But it seems like here in Virginia, we're right on the edge, the southern edge of many storms where it's right at freezing. So they get a lot more ice storms here than we do up north.
Right.
And that ice storms can take the power out really, really bad. Trees
Right.
come down over power lines and all kinds of stuff. So it's just really...
It's comforting to me.
Comforting, thank you. I couldn't
Yes.
think of that word. It's comforting to know that we're always going to have heat now, no matter what happens.
Yeah. Now I knew, you know, I'm a budgeting fuss budget. Wow, I didn't realize fuss budget had the word budget in it. Anyway, I knew we were going to want to put a stove into the house, and I knew our little, our great little, you know, tiny stoves that we used up in the tiny house. Those little cubic mini stoves were not going to be enough here, and so I started saving. Oh, I bet you it was 8 to 9 months beforehand. We were just thinking even about moving, and I started setting money aside so that when the time came, I knew we would have the money saved to be able to go ahead and get not just the wood stove, but all the paraphernalia that you have to get it up through the roof and to do it right.
Right. Right.
So
a lot of you may be wondering about the cost. And,
Yeah.
you know, when I put in that little cubic mini wood stove, that cute little thing that I had up in the tiny house in Pennsylvania, that was I think it was in the neighborhood of $850
Yeah.
for that little stove.
it was a good stove.
And I had a lot of people come in and say, "Oh, that's absolute highway robbery. You're out of your mind for spending that kind of money." To those people, I would say, you apparently not priced a new wood stove.
Price wood stoves, right.
Because the total cost for this, including the stove and all of the double wall pipe and everything we needed all the way up through the ceiling, through the roof, was $3,283.
Yeah.
And if you go into any store anywhere in the country that sells wood stoves, that's just what wood stoves cost, you know. And it will pay for itself, but it's going to take a couple of seasons.
Right.
But that's okay. The main reason we bought it, like I said, was because we wanted it for prepper heat when the power goes out. But eventually it'll pay for itself and it'll be saving us money in the long run. Now that price was just for the materials. I
Right.
probably would have paid another $1,000 if I had somebody else install it for us.
Right. It saved so much that he and Barry were able to install it. You know, finding a size for this house. We wanted something that wasn't going to be too big, but you know, it can't be too small either. In fact, I only know of one that was much smaller than this at all.
Yeah.
And it was it just would not have been adequate at all. But this was. We have about 900 square feet here, and I think that little stove does what, about 1,100, 1,200.
I think, yeah.
And so, you know, it's the cutest thing. It's so pretty. But it's going to be plenty to be able to heat this house without any issues at all. And so, you know, this was one of the smaller ones. So when you start getting into the bigger ones for bigger houses, then of course the cost goes up from there.
Right.
But this is from Vermont, and it's beautifully well made. Really good EPA, things on it, so that it is very efficient, and very little smoke actually ever manages to escape it. It reburns everything, and pretty nice stove.
And you know, our living room here is kind of smallish for a house. It's huge compared to the tiny house that we used to live in.
But it's still not a real big
But
living room.
it's not a real big living room, so we were a little bit challenged to be able to figure out how to fit it in here with all of our other furniture. But as you can see here, we managed to do it, and it's going to work well, and we're just really happy with the situation here and how it fits and how it looks.
Yes, and I think that the warmth will go into the rest of the house. You know.
Yeah, we put it over there near the door in the center instead of, you know, next to an outside window or something.
Right.
It's where it's more centrally located in the house, and so the heat will distribute through down the hall and all that a little better being situated where it is.
And you know, I was thinking, you know, is that going to be too close to the doorway? But it's actually a nice gap there. And you know, we had a wood stove that was like near our door in the tiny house, and it's not like I fell into it or ran into it or something. I think it's enough distance there that it should be safe, you know, and that the pathway through that opening in the door there it's not so close that somebody's going to bump it. So.
Right.
I think it's gonna be good.
So I've had a lot of people been asking, when are you going to install that wood stove? Well, here you go.
Yep.
I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a longer video, a little tedious, but I know a lot of people want to really see the process. So there you go.
There we go. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to you know, get that thing cranked up. I love wood heat in a house, and I'm also thrilled because, you know, Bill knew what I really wanted, and it's got a beautiful glass door, so I'm going to be able to look at the fire.
Right.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay. Thanks for watching.
Live simple.
Live free. You be blessed.
Bye-bye. Love you guys.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah.